So here is the new first draft of the Egypto Alpha Numerics Dictionary. So what I did to make this is I took Kieren Barry's 56-page Dictionary of Isopsephy. I scanned each one of these pages individually. And I took David Fideler's two-page index of Gematria, scanned those 2 pages. Then I took the work in progress Egypto Dictionary numbers, which you see here, where you can look up something such as 2 and find that it equals the Bet hieroglyph. And then also the ABC portion of the Egypto Dictionary, where I have words listed with their numbers and their decoded links, or descriptions of how the words are decoded numerically. And then there's a post of it here where you can find the link, which is uploaded to the hmopedia.com server. And this will be eventually published as volume 5 of the 6-volume Egypto Alphanumeric book set. Since this is the first publication of this Egypto Alphanumerics Dictionary, I'll touch on the differences between Fideler, Barry, and myself, or the Egypto version. So to begin with, Barry's, Fideler's is the oldest, published in A38, and so if we go to chapter 2, he starts out with Gematria, and he basically focuses mostly on Greek alphanumerics. Here we see his Mod 9 ordered Greek alphabet table going down to Sampi. He talks about how solar magic squares. He talks about circle diameter isopsephy. For example, he says that he notes that Theos has a alphanumeric value of 284, and that this corresponds to the diameter of a circle with a perimeter of 891, which equals heaven, or Ouranos in Greek. So here we see the Theos, and this is the diameter of the circle. And these circumference diameters are some of the big core ciphers in Egypto alphanumerics, some of them shown here. So for example, one of the biggest ones is iota. That means if you sum the first column of the periodic table of letters, 1 plus 10 plus 100 plus 1,000 gives you 111. And then you divide, shown here. So if you divide this by pi, you get a diameter of Hermes, whose word value in Greek equals 353. And Hermes, as we know, is Thoth. So this explains that all of this goes back to Egyptian mathematics and geometrical ciphers. And Fideler also talks, he spends most of this time trying to unify Christianity and Greek religions, but he does talk about, he gets into Egyptian here, where he talks about Heliopolis, how he says the obelisk is equivalent to the Greek Philistone. Here's Happy, which is one of the water flood gods behind letter N. And there you see the alphanumeric value for Nile is 365, which means that it's a cipher for the number of days of year. And other ciphers, for example, Cyan equals 666, where the plum is used to calculate the diameter of the Earth by the Egyptians. Now, the difference, Barry is the next book that published after Fideler. This was published in 844, and his is the largest dictionary published to date, so 56 pages. So this one is 92 pages. And you can see here where I've taken, there's the first 2 pages of Fideler, and then I just mirrored over Barry's section here. And we see the EAN Reddit sub numbers section here, and then also the letters section. So eventually this is going to be or before the Reddit alphanumeric sub was started, this was all originally listed as the number table in HMLPD A65. So here we see not only do we have everything listed in numbers, but we can also click on, for example, 284, which we just talked about, which Barry just cited. For the alphanumeric value of Theos, or God. And then these numbers will be integrated throughout the HMLPD when it gets going again. But the main difference here is that Barry says that this is pretty important. So Barry says that it is overly straining serious academic credibility, as Fideler suggests, to say that the names Zeus, Hermes, and Apollo, which were known and used by Homer, were based on alphabetic numerology, which, according to Barry, was not in existence in the 8th century or the time of Homer. So Barry thinks that alphabetic numerology was invented after Homer was using these names. And then Barry also says that, or Fideler also says that the introduction of the long vowels came through these Zeus, Hermes, and Apollo ciphers. So the problem here is that it's mathematically impossible that Homer used these names and then someone after Homer, for example, the Pythagoreans, mapped numbers onto these names. And the reason is that we see here is the Parthenon, where we see Zeus is found as the value of 612, as the circle contained within the rhombus hexagon. We also see Helios and Hermes and Apollo are all ciphered in the architectural geometry of the Parthenon. Likewise, here we see Temple Didymaon, or Apollo Temple at Didyma near Miletos. We see Hermes is the long diameter at 353 Greek feet, and then Apollo is the perimeter of the hexagon at 161 feet. And this is shown from the sky view here. We see that the names Apollo as the hexagon perimeter, and then Hermes as the long diagonal or length of the temple, and then also Iota as the perimeter. So all this was built in stone in the year 20 to 100 A. So the question is, where did this come from? So Barry doesn't really say exactly where this comes from, and then let's see, Barry denies it, says it was invented by the Pythagoreans or something like that. So in this dictionary, it traces the origin of all these numbers backwards into the Egyptian hieroglyphs. So a simple example is the word philosophy. So if we look at the word philosophy in the dictionary, we go here and we see that it comes from philos, meaning loving. And then we go over here and we're told that it comes from a Proto-Hellenic word, philos, which is the same spelling. And this comes from the Proto-Indo-European. This is the mythical civilization, this phonetic, which is invented. And then you go on this, click on this link, and you see this was invented by some Wikipedian, and is their theoretical proto-etymologies in the request for deletion section. So this is all basically pet theories. So if you really want to know where Philos comes from, we have to look at the letters and trace them back to their Egyptian numbers and their proto-characters. So if we start with, we've already done the Philia cipher, which is on the end of the cubit ruler. One corresponds to Philly Island, one corresponds to Philia, which means love. Only the AI and IA are spelled different, but they both equal 551. Here we see that there's Philly Island, or Isis. The island is shaped like the kite of Isis, who flaps her wings over Osiris, and her love brings Osiris back to life. And also this is the Philae Island is located at the tip, or the first nome of Egypt, and the other six nomes form the shape of an L. So this is where letter L comes from the shape of the first 7 nomes of Egypt and the Little Dipper in the sky. So here we see that the L of the word Philia comes from this double cipher. Then the Phi part of the word Philia comes from the Ptah fire drill. So here you see that letter Phi comes from the Egyptian god Ptah, and that it's based on his body is the hardwood stick, or Fidar, that spins in the softwood, which is this part here. It makes ashes, put the ashes in grass, blow on it, and it starts a fire. Everyone knows that there is no love without flame. And here we see the geometry of the letters on the Egyptian geography. letter N, letter L is right here, where love comes from. There's Philia Island. There's the first 7 gnomes, and this is the Little Dipper. This was decoded by John Gordon. Eratosthenes decoded letter N, and Herodotus was the one who said that the delta is always called the delta by the Ionians. So if we go to the first 2 letters, Fi, this is the neuter form of Philia. Filon is the neuter form. And this equals 500 plus I is 10, gives you 510. And that is also the value of the word phi in Greek, 510. So these 3 are all ciphers that have to do with ptah, lightiness, fire drill. And we know this is a ptah cipher because the name ptah is spelled phi theta a, which also equals 510. So the secret name of phi is ptah, the Egyptian fire drill god. And then if you print your dictionary out, you can track these down. For example, you can go to the numbers section. Go to 500, we see that phi, 23rd letter, it's a cipher for ptah, making the golden egg and lighting it with his fire drill. Word value of phi, word value of ptah, the fire drill god. He uses flame to light the egg of the phoenix. And then new ciphers here. This one is decoded today. We see that if we use the neuter form of love, philon, it equals 6660. And then we go to the 660 portion of it's the new edit here. We don't have these in yet, but if we go to Barry's dictionary, we see that phylon is an isonym of tokos, which means childbirth, and also philoix, which means fire or flame. So this is all cipher for the phoenix and the birth of the sun, which is an isonym first. So this is a secondary secret name isonym of love, childbirth, flame. And then we also know that L is what brings Osiris back to life from the love of Isis. So that is the end of this video. Just to give an introduction of this new printout, which you can print yourself. Hope this was helpful.